Hello, clowns.
I'm Ami.
I'm Yu Chen, and we're the hosts of Clown Bites Podcast.
We're two best friends who are chronically online and get together weekly to laugh and discuss all the clown behavior we see on the internet.
And there's so much.
Truly so much.
We're so glad to have you here to clown around with us, and we hope you enjoy the episode.
Hello, clowns. Good morning, if you're listening in the morning, which we always record in the morning, sadly. And I'm sleepy. How's it going, Yuch?
I am actually pretty awake just because I got up and I was like, wow, I'm actually not jet lagged for once because I stayed up somewhat late after playing pickleball for the first time yesterday. And
what'd you think of it?
I'm addicted. I am all in.
It's so fun.
Yeah, just because I used to play tennis competitively. And so I kind of naturally picked it up a bit, and it was fun to get into a hobby that I somewhat already knew and I didn't suck at completely. But my friend and I are joining a league this year, hopefully.
That's so fun. Okay.
We'll see what happens. But
I
also
Love
had
that.
a dream very recently. And I wanted to pick your brain about it because you know how we always say our dreams are kind of about stuff that we're stressed about?
Yeah.
I had this dream when after one of our mutual friends texted us about her upcoming wedding. And basically I had a dream that there was this big confrontation at this wedding.
Oh God. That's our mutual friend's
worst
nightmare. Yeah.
Don't worry, I had it for you in my dream. So you don't have it in real life.
Did you win? Of course.
Probably. I don't remember it. Just the fact that it happened, I was like,
Yeah. Yeah. Like the thing is, if this situation happens and I'm to be confronted, I would just walk away.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly what would happen.
Because it is my best friend's wedding. I'm not fucking having a fight with you right now.
Exactly. On to the topic of weddings, though. I know you went to one. The pictures looked insane, and we never got to catch up about it.
Oh my God. So I went to a castle wedding in Ireland in December, which feels like yesterday because I guess it was. And it was the coolest thing I've ever done, been to. It was such a beautiful big castle. Only the wedding party and guests stayed at the castle, so it was our house. And it was decorated beautifully. It's this 4-star hotel basically that they've renovated this castle into. And it was so fun to run around the halls pretending we're royalty, in our socks, just being oh, we live here. And I'm sad that it's over. And it went by too quick. Honestly, I need to go back to that place and stay a night or two so that I can actually explore the grounds and stuff. Because I didn't get to do that.
When you told me about this, I always thought you were having this wedding in Scotland. I think you and everyone.
Me too.
For some reason, us Americans, I'm sorry, I apologize to the Irish and the Scottish, but for some reason, Ireland and Scotland are so jumbled up in my mind.
Mine is not because they're jumbled, because obviously my friend is Irish, but I always thought I was in Scotland because I was channeling Mary Queen of Scots the whole time.
Yes,
and
your reign of session.
I am Mary Queen of Scots walking down my castle halls, asking people to fetch me coffee. I didn't do that, but I could have.
Do you think Mary Queen of Scots actually drank coffee?
Well, who knows if it's historically accurate, but in Reign, they did discover coffee, or they were oh, there's this new invention called coffee. So maybe.
How do you remember this? It's not even a main plot of the show.
I have watched that show upwards of 10 times.
10?
Although I haven't watched in a really long time because of extenuating circumstances. But maybe I gotta do a rewatch.
You do, under new circumstances.
Yeah, under happiness.
Okay, question for you. Do you think attending these pretty extravagant weddings, I say extravagant because like it's a castle, it's a freaking castle.
Yeah.
Puts a lot of pressure on you to have bigger weddings?
Yeah. The whole time I was there, I'm like, I'm having my wedding here. It was just so cool. And I'm like, this is like amazing. But yeah, I was just like, whoa, like what a cool event. And I would want mine to be like this. So now I gotta have it.
I feel like Lake Como weddings are something that I see all over TikTok. And it used to be such a niche, unusual thing. But now it's like every other day I'm like seeing someone saying that they're having their wedding in Lake Como. I'm just like, we've been to Lake Como. It is actually not super convenient to get to.
No, it's not convenient at all. And I mean, I can't even imagine how expensive it is. It is like so popular.
So
and
popular.
Even touristy wise, it's so expensive. So I can't imagine what it would be like.
Okay, should we talk about your trauma? Do we want to do that?
Oh, yeah, let's do it. We can cut it if it's boring.
Okay. With every wedding, I feel like there's always drama, whether in the bridal party or with the guests. Do you have any gossip to share with us?
Oh, do I? So at this wedding, like I didn't know that many people. The bride was like my coworker from my first job, and we were obviously just very, very close. And so I only knew my other coworker / friends from that era. So like me and two other girls. And so the whole wedding, which was like 2 days pre-wedding, like as like a fun kind of like friend hangout thing, and then the 2 days at the wedding, me and my two friends spent gathering the tea from everyone, and then we would come home every night and like rehash what everyone had learned, and it was so fun. It was like we were living for the tea, and like I don't know if this is just normal, but I felt like there was so much tea at this wedding, and every day we were shook by something.
So the tea is hot.
The tea is piping. It was like movie tea, like weird stuff, like I don't know. It was wild. But I will tell you one of the tea things that I feel like I'm fine sharing because I don't care about this person.
Yes, our friend of a friend of a friend of a friend. I guess for you, it's friend of a friend.
Yeah. And anyone who went to the wedding will know who I'm talking about, but like whatever. I'll say it to his face if he ever wants me to. But basically, we got there the first night in Galway, right? This is like the friend weekend. We have like a few houses. Like one of the houses has this guy, and I've never met him. We met him for the first time that day, whatever. He's so friendly. He's one of those people that like immediately when he meets you, he's like, you're the coolest person. He's like gassing you up. Like he's really nice. So you're like, okay, cool. That's like great. I like this. Fine. So we go to dinner, and then we're doing this like pub crawl thing. And we just noticed that he's being very like touchy. And I was like, maybe he's a little drunk. Like, I don't know, but he didn't seem drunk. So I'm like, okay, maybe he's just really touchy. And at one point, he was like a little bit too touchy with me that I just didn't like it. Like, we were walking to a different bar, and he was like holding my waist. And I was just like, no, I don't know you. And like, I don't need this. I'm plenty warm. So we're good.
Also, you didn't
but it was
ask
like
for it.
I didn't ask for it, but it was like 2 and 2 walking, and like I got stuck with him walking. And so like I didn't know how to be like, don't. So I just let it happen because it was like a 10-minute walk. And then when we got there, I just kind of like ran away. So like it was whatever. Then like the next morning, me and my friend are rehashing the night, and she stayed longer than I did because I was tired. So I came home at like 12:30. She got home at like 2, and she was like, yeah. And she was like, I have something to tell you. that guy who's so touchy has a 4-month-old baby.
I'm
Randomly.
shocked.
I looked at her and I was like, I've never heard something more shocking.
I've been around.
I cannot believe that.
I've been around a lot of new mothers, new fathers. They cannot stop talking about their babies. It is literally their personality the minute that they're born, when they're so young. And so the fact that like none of you guys knew about it, and also, where's the baby?
Yeah.
Where's the wife?
Where is the baby? Okay, so that was my first question. I was like, where's the baby? And like, is he with the mom? And like, we didn't know about the mom situation. And like, he divulged the baby thing at 1 a.m., 1:30 a.m. Like, he divulged it after like 7 hours together, which I thought was insane.
1 a.m.
And
is
the
like,
way he's acting.
Yeah. 1 a.m. is like when all the secrets spill out.
Totally. And I wish that I could have like rallied, but at this point I was like, nah, I'm so tired. I don't give a shit. I gotta go home. And I had a headache. So I was like, whatever. Carissa will get the tea for me. And so yeah, so then that night, this guy is from Houston, and like I have a bunch of friends in Houston. So I text one of my friends and I'm like, okay, what are your thoughts on this guy? Like, do you know him well? What's going on? And immediately he goes, he's very touchy. I was like, whoa, okay, same. I feel that too. And he's like, he's even touchy with me. Like, he'll touch my butt and stuff. And I'm like, what the fuck? So he's gender inclusive in touching.
Okay.
Which was interesting to find out. Just as like a data point of, I guess his touching is not like anything sexual. It's more just he's extremely handsy. I don't know.
But do you think he was trying to get with someone from the wedding and was just
For sure.
unsuccessful?
For sure. For sure. I think if someone would have like been down, he would have been down immediately. So then my friend texts me, or like who I'm texting says, and he has a wife. And that was another mic drop moment. I was like, what in the world? How can he have a wife? He's not acting like he has a wife. And that's just wild. Then he says, they're in an open marriage, according to him, but apparently the wife doesn't really like think that.
Every single tidbit, I'm just like, what?
What?
Like, I thought it would stop.
I know. And like the worst part of that was like, I was texting him while we were at dinner, and there were so many people around me that I couldn't like immediately look at my friends and be like, whoa, what the hell? I had to hold it in so deep until we got home.
You're so strong for that.
And I was just like, whoa. Okay, that's so crazy. Like, he's definitely not acting like he has a wife. I'm so sad for the wife if she really doesn't know that he's in an open marriage. And my friend was like, yeah, that it's just so weird. Like, we don't really know. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stay away from this guy, whatever. Like, I will just the next day ask the crowd what their feelings are, gauge audience response of his actions. So then at the rehearsal dinner, after I got a little tipsy / drunk, I went around asking all of my new friends what they thought of him. And everyone's response was the same. Basically, like, he's so touchy-feely. Then I was like, do you know he has a baby and a wife? And they would be like, oh, I only know one of those things. Or they'd be like, yeah, I know both, but he like really weirdly said it. And then I even talked to his friends that were at the wedding, and they were just like, yeah, that's just who he is. And I was like, what does that mean?
Wait, was he wearing a wedding ring?
No. Yeah, like, he's not advertising that he's like married in any way. I guess because he assumes they're in an open marriage or whatever, so he thinks like he doesn't need to.
Okay, you're not in an open marriage if the other person doesn't agree or doesn't know.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, no one's that close to his wife to know. But apparently, at their like parties in Houston, he will bring other girls. So it's
Ew.
very open to his friends that he is in an open relationship of sorts.
How can you be
Then,
that open when you have a 4-month-old baby? Like, who is taking care of the
exactly.
baby?
Exactly. Like the first night or the first like time I heard about the baby, my only thought was like, why isn't the baby here? Or like you just left your baby's mother alone with a 4-month-old to
Yeah.
gallivant in Ireland?
At this
Like
point, like,
I mean,
you don't need to be at the wedding. I'm sure your friend would have
exactly.
agreed.
Understood. Yeah, like she would have 100% understood. So it was just odd behavior overall. Then we get to wedding night. At the reception dinner, I wasn't at that table, but my friend was at my friends were at that table, and they said that the topic of open marriage came up as dinner conversation, which is just crazy
How?
at a wedding. I have no idea how. I wish that I was there to like have experienced this part so that I could tell you guys, but I don't know. It came up somehow, and everyone was just kind of like, yeah, like I guess it's fine, like whatever. I don't know what people were really saying, but then my friend just looks at him dead in the eye and is like, it's only fine if your wife actually knows. And then it kind of just shut the conversation down. Because everyone at that table was like thinking the same things because I had already gathered everyone's thoughts the day before.
Queen behavior.
Yeah, so it was so fun. And that was only one thing. That was only one thing of so many things I learned that like this wedding was so fun for me.
You know what? I think you need to submit some of the bigger gossip to our friends at Normal Gossip.
Oh my god, I do. I need to like talk to some of my informants a little bit more to get
Hmm.
all of the details, like the full backstory. Because also what I was doing was asking different people so that they would corroborate or like negate the other person's story. Like I was full on investigative journalism at this wedding. So I have some more digging to do.
These are like the hard skills that we need to be developing. Like, who knows
Yeah,
what investigating we might have to do in the future.
exactly. I was practicing for clown vibes. And then there were some people who like knew about the podcast because I told them obviously.
Hmm.
And then they would like say something and be like, "Are you going to put this on the podcast?" Like, I guess it's okay if you do. And I was like, "Okay, great." This wasn't one of them, but like whatever.
Yeah.
I'll take the license to like say it. It was my perspective.
Yeah. Honestly, we own everything that we say on this podcast.
Yeah. I'll
And
tell it to him.
yeah, we'll tell it to your face.
Cool.
Okay. On to our main topic for today. It is all about the wedding industry and how it has gotten completely out of control on social media. And honestly,
Very.
so expensive as well.
Mm-hmm.
Ami and I are unfortunate to not have had to pay for a wedding yet.
Yeah.
We say
Neither one. Who knows?
unfortunate because Ami's mom is ready to plan a big ass wedding any day now.
Any day, and like it'll just be something that I don't like. Because we have opposite taste, like fully opposite taste. So if I leave it in her hands, like we'll just be at something that everyone will be like, "What? Is this Ami's wedding or someone else's?"
Did your mom ever have a big wedding?
No. So she has
Mm,
to live through me. They had
yeah.
like a pretty small wedding. She was like cooking the day of the wedding or something, like the night of the wedding, because it
Mm,
was really small and it was like mostly just family.
now it
And they
makes
didn't have a lot of
sense.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but in 2023, I feel like the wedding industry on social media has just really bloomed into something so outrageous. And you know what? I think Sophia Richie's wedding had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, totally. Because I think it was the first like celeb adjacent wedding
Hmm.
that we saw play out pretty much live
Right.
on social media.
And it's interesting because Sophia Richie is like pretty big on her own,
Mm-hmm.
but and so it wasn't like one of those weddings where it's like un it's you're like surprised that it's like extravagant. I would have expected
Yeah.
it to be
No,
extravagant.
totally.
So I
Yeah.
don't really know why it really became such a big thing. Maybe it's because she launched like her clean girl aesthetic look and everyone was like looking for the new trend at the moment.
Mm-hmm. I think it was like a mixture of that and seeing how Sophia Richie basically launched her rebrand and
Hmm.
like launched her entry back into like celeb status
Hmm.
with this wedding.
I definitely think it's like a whole rebrand thing, and it was very calculated. She started posting
Yeah,
on TikTok
totally.
with the wedding
The
content.
week before her,
Yeah.
yeah, like get ready with me for my like wedding event.
Hmm.
And it was honestly like I think what also drove so much intrigue is because on the surface, the wedding didn't seem that extravagant
Mm-mm.
in terms of like guest size, like, you know, whatever else. But obviously, it was so expensive. Like, she had that guy who sings that Georgia song, Come, sing for her walking down the aisle. Like, it was in the French Riviera. Like, it was
Hmm.
wild. But it didn't like come off as so crazy.
It wasn't like in your face crazy. Like it was kind of
Yeah.
expected for a influencer and a what does Elliot do? He's like the heir of this music
Music, yeah,
production
a music
company.
producer,
Yeah.
something, yeah. No, yeah, like if you thought about it, you would be like, okay, no, it makes sense that their wedding was so crazy. But I think people kept forgetting because I did see a lot of videos that was like, hey guys, they're rich. Like, this is not,
Normal.
I mean, yeah, this is not normal. Like, you guys are just like so shocked by her having this wedding on TikTok. And like, when random things come up, you're like, whoa, I can't believe it was that expensive. But like, why are you shocked?
Right. And I don't think anybody was. I think we were all just like in awe that it was so
Yeah.
beautiful and so
Mm-hmm.
like classic, which is really different from the brand that Sophia Richie had prior to this wedding. But in
Yeah.
comparison, I want to talk about Madeline Brockway, which is kind of like the clown wedding of 2023. I want to say a clown wedding of
Totally.
the century because at first some people were saying like, "Oh, this is the wedding of the century." And then so much clown news came out of it that it became the clown wedding of 2023.
Yeah. I will not give it the century title because there's so many years left in this century and I think someone will beat it.
The wedding industry is only going to get crazier.
Yeah, totally.
Okay,
Okay,
so
so give the
who
audience the background
yes.
or I'll tell it.
Okay, so who is Madeline Brockway? That is the real
Okay,
question
so
is who is Madeline Brockway?
yes, I don't fully know, but she
Still
is
to this
a
day.
car dealership heiress, apparently, which I don't actually know what heiress means. Like, how many generations does this like dealership business have to be in your family for you to be an heiress? And her dad actually sold some of the dealerships, so can you be an heiress of something you no longer own?
Okay, I think he only sold two of the Carly dealerships and they own like
Okay.
a chain. So it's to like give
Oh,
perspective, like
got
I
it.
think those two sold for like $150 million, right? And so if
Mm-hmm.
they owned like 10, that means like 10 or 12, that means he's like a billionaire, no problem, right? If like they're worth
Yeah.
a ton more.
But I feel like it doesn't check out because if he was a billionaire or like that rich, wouldn't we like know about them? Why is the wedding the first time like we've ever heard of Madeline Brockway, a 26-year-old? Like she's been on the earth a long time.
Mm-hmm.
From South Florida. Florida is like notorious for like having so many influencers, celebs. You would think we would have heard of her.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Okay, so her content started popping off just the same strategy as Sophia Richie. She started posting
Copy
right
paste.
before her wedding, starting with her bachelorette at Amagiri, which is like a super expensive celeb spot for like resorts. And basically, she bought out the entire place and had like 3 nights of really, really decadent themed bachelorette party. Um, and then they flew all of their guests on private jets to Paris, where the wedding was going to be held. They did a luncheon at Chanel where they got like custom purses done, which I don't know if you watched the video. The purses
Dead.
looked really bad.
Oh,
Like,
really? Okay, I gotta go find the video. Because my dream bag, if I cared about bags, would be that like classic Chanel one with the
the
like
quilted
a
bag?
little bit quilted. Yeah.
Oh, that's so not your style. I'm really
I know,
shocked.
but that's like my favorite bag. And I think it's because of the hills. But anyway, keep going.
Well, that's not what
So
they
that's
got.
the bag. Yeah, okay. All
Let me
right, I'll
describe
look
this
at it.
bag to you. It's like a little pouch that they're like sewing little strings into. It's kind of like a phone bag, or it's more like a coin purse. Yeah, and they're like you can bedazzle it with your initials.
Bedazzle it?
Yeah, they okay, not like with a bedazzle gun, but like
Okay,
you can
okay.
intricately sew your initials
Okay.
onto it or like add the year of the wedding onto it. And I was just like, "Oh my gosh,
It's not your wedding.
this is like an elevated Claire's experience
Yeah. No, 100%. One of
or
those
oh my gosh,
crafting
limited
birthdays.
to birthday parties. Do you remember those? But yes, this
Yes.
is what it reminded me of, but at Chanel.
That's so wild because I bet the cost of that was like exorbitant and you could have like made something cooler.
Yeah. Or I would have just like rather got a more chic card holder from Chanel,
Yeah,
but I don't know. It just kind of felt
whatever.
like you were doing something extravagant just to be extravagant. Like there was no purpose of it.
Yeah.
But they had like a private tour of the Eiffel Tower. The the bachelorette parties, the bridal party stayed at the Palace of Versailles, which I mean, I
Dream.
visited the Palace of Versailles and it's kind of overrated, but
It's dusty.
we never stayed at the
Yeah.
actual like palace, which is freaking expensive to do.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. First of all, they would have to shut down tourism for like whatever amount of days, and that must be raking in so much money, like the
No,
tourism
I think
part.
they actually stay just at the like hotel part because that is separate
Oh.
from the tourist area.
Oh,
So
so
they
the
didn't shut
hotel must
down
be
one thing.
renovated.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
And their
Interesting.
actual wedding was at the opera house and the like videos that really took off on TikTok were just like the staircases with like so many violinists and like flowers upon flowers everywhere. Like it was so extravagant. Maroon 5 was playing, which is like I don't know, kind of a clown moment in itself because like Maroon 5 hasn't had the best year in 2023, so it's funny that they got Maroon 5, but crazy in itself. And I don't know
Yeah,
how people got this number, but it is reported to be a $59 million wedding, which is just
which is insane.
insane.
Also, like, okay, if we think about how the two dealerships sold for 150 million, I think total. So they spent 1/3 of that money on the wedding. Like, make it make sense. And they paid taxes on the 150, so it's not really 150. I don't know. That just seems like a crazy use of your money.
That's what a lot of people are saying. It's like it didn't really have the same effect that Sophia Richie's wedding had because everyone was
Totally.
like, who are these people? And you know what? We got it because news came out that the groom, Jacob Legrone, was arrested very recently to the wedding for firing guns at police officers. And I just want to preface that they live in Texas. So I guess not
So it's
surprising.
normal.
Not surprising that
Yeah.
they fired or that they owned guns.
Own guns, yeah. But so the story is that she comes home late from going out and they get into an argument in the driveway, and then police gets called on them. But my question is, why does he have a gun on him on his driveway? Like, generally people here who have guns will have it in like their gun safe in their house, but that's terrifying that he was just like carrying this gun
Open
during
carry, I
this fight.
guess. Yeah.
I guess,
And the
but
fight
like,
was with Madeline.
yeah, like it's his fiance. Why do you need a gun? Like, that's terrifying. I'm her. If I'm her, I'd be like, what the fuck? We're not getting married.
Well, she did. She was terrified because she left immediately, went to her parents' estate, which is, I think, is like 4 to 5 miles away. Like, she lives pretty close to her parents. And
Mm-hmm.
Madeline's father called the police to do a welfare check on him, which I think is like, I actually don't know the order of events of when the police came,
Oh,
but it's like
got it.
she was fearful for him, of him.
Yeah.
I don't know. Her parents were concerned. Like, he seemed unwell. So the fact that they went ahead with this wedding and publicized it
6 months later.
is crazy, because the internet finds everything. The internet will find my
Mm-hmm.
stupid tweets from like 2011.
Yeah. I I just didn't understand why they would go through with it. It's not like Madeline didn't know. It's not like there's no world in which this news wouldn't have come out. He had a court date like pretty much right after the wedding, and that's when news broke about it. So their like wedding content only was up for a few weeks before they deleted everything.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I wonder, like, what was she thinking? Everyone's like, "Oh no, she hired a PR company to like help launch her status as an influencer." But like, do you think she had this idea if it wasn't for Sophia Richie and how so many people go viral for their weddings?
No, Sophia Richie, she copy pasted that blueprint. Like, she fully did it because of Sophia. But you know what? I just had this thought. Do you think her PR team like knew about the like husband situation, and they were like, "Hey, this will make you guys notorious. So you will be famous in a different way." Like, we're still talking about them. You know what I mean?
Someone must have
And
searched them up.
yeah, and like, do you think she's going to come back with a bang this year? And like a new rebrand of like either breaking up with him, and then the story being like, oh, I did like was basically abused or something, like I was like manipulated and liked him, or she'll come back out and be like, no, I'm in love with him, he made a mistake, like, and that's going to be her story, or nah.
I want her to dump his ass because
Yeah.
honestly, she didn't do anything wrong. Like, she just
No.
wanted to play Barbie in a Barbie dream house. Like, she didn't do anything wrong. I think she could have a career as an influencer. I mean, on LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
her career says that she's like an entrepreneur. So whatever that means, I doubt she has an actual job. But she could totally do it. I just think like this wedding fiasco will haunt her for the rest of her life if she
Yeah,
doesn't
no, totally.
openly address it and sever the fucking tie.
Yeah. Man, it'll be very interesting to see. Had we been her PR, I would have probably been like, maybe don't. But you
Maybe
know what?
rethink this.
I also think it was an Anna Delvey situation of like they didn't actually pay for this wedding fully. Because the math isn't mathing.
The math might also be arbitrary. Like, where did people get
That's
this
true.
$59 million from? And all the news articles
That's
about
true.
this couple and the wedding are saying the exact same thing. Like, we're just rinse and repeating the
That's true. What the
only
Daily Mail is
limited
saying.
knowledge. Yeah. It all stemmed from the Daily Mail. And how accurate is that?
Yeah, I don't know. I did see a TikTok video that was like doing all the math, and he got to like 30 million.
Mm-hmm.
But still, like, I just feel like there's no way they paid for that whole wedding. actually.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
Wedding costs have gotten so crazy these past few years. I mean, besides 2020, I feel like wedding costs have gone up each year, as expected with inflation. But do you
Yeah.
know what the average cost of a wedding in America is in 2023?
Like 50K?
Not Indian weddings, okay?
Okay.
Lower.
36?
It's actually 29K, which
Okay.
I think the reason why you guess 50K, I mean, I would be like, oh yeah, 50K, no problem, even though that's so fucking expensive, is the fact that it's everywhere on TikTok, Instagram, like so many news articles cover specifically just extravagant weddings. And so it's kind of like in our minds, like we've been brainwashed to think that weddings are on average 50K weddings.
Totally. Like 50K. You saying 29 just right now, I was like, oh, that's cheap. It's not.
It's not.
But compared to the numbers we see on TikTok, like the other day on TikTok, I saw a post about an $80,000 wedding, and she did not even have all the things she wanted. They did not get a photo booth because it was too expensive for them. And
Why
they
do you
didn't
need
have a
photo booth?
videographer, like just for fun. And like they didn't have a videographer because it was too expensive. And I'm just like, where did the 80,000 go then? Because if these are things you wanted, then like what did you prioritize over it to get to this amount? Like I'm shocked, and the wedding wasn't that big. So I just was confused.
You know what? I bet it's the venue. The venue,
That
I
was in
hear.
Napa or Sedona or
Oh,
something. But it's just like, I don't know. The venue would be like what, 20K?
yeah. Just the
30K
fact
there.
that
So 50K, what are you spending that on?
just the
Anyway,
fact that
it
the
shook me.
venue is 20 to 30K is crazy to me.
Jail.
And I think like because the wedding industry has gotten so out of control lately, it's really putting a lot of pressure on the bride and groom to deliver on having an equally as impressive wedding. Like every time you attend a wedding, don't you feel so much pressure to actually like have the same level of attention to detail as like a lot of
Yeah.
these super extravagant weddings? And then the issue is that you don't actually know how much it's going to cost until you're actually planning. And so do people actually like save for weddings? Like how much do you actually
They
like
must.
But like do people even know how much to save at this point? Because
No.
the average wedding could cost $29,000 right now. But I bet it's going to be 32,000 this year. And then
Next year.
by the time
Yeah,
that
this
we're
year.
getting married, who the fuck knows?
God knows. Yeah, dude, I don't know. And I feel like there's so many random things that go into the wedding that you don't know about until you're planning the wedding. So, like, budgeting seems impossible because things just come up. And then at that point, you're like, okay, what's another $500? But how many times can you say, what's another $500 for it to then be like, you've lost the plot?
I think that's the issue. I think that's a really big issue right now in the wedding planning industry is that so many brides and grooms have a set budget of say like $30,000, but they have this, I read in an interview, like they have this vision in their head that they can't get rid of. In their mind, it's like YOLO, you only live once, but like you
Yeah.
only wed once. And
Yeah.
because they have this vision in their head, but this fixed budget, like what's going to go, the vision or the budget? And it's at this point, it's
The
the
budget.
budget because
Yeah.
when you start going over budget, they're like, well, God, we're committed to
It's
the
gone.
vision now. And what's really sad is so many people go into debt for a wedding. And like, you could celebrate the union of your marriage for free or for very little money at a
Yeah. Like you could
courthouse.
do like a nice, or a backyard, like dinner barbecue thing that would only maybe be like 5K.
Yeah. So it's really, I feel like the issue in society right now is not because like wedding industry costs have gone up due to, I don't know, inflation. It's really because
Mm-hmm.
we as a society have completely lost the plot for a wedding.
Yeah. I think there's just so much like expectation. It's just kind of like, okay, your wedding is like the one time that you would get like everyone you care about in a room together pretty much, and they would feel like not obligated, but like want to come to celebrate you. But like that is like almost the biggest event of that is the biggest event of your life. Like in
It
what other
shouldn't
situation
be.
are you planning? No, I know, totally. But that is what it's become, right? Like after you get married, no one cares. And like before you get married, no one's going to like your graduation or like your random birthday.
Yeah, which is really, if you think about it though, and like using Texas, because we're both from Texas, as a data point,
Mhm.
people are getting married in their early 20s, mid 20s. That is like,
Yeah.
you're at the one third mark of your life, and you're so stressed out, and you're like
Not even.
spending
Yeah.
thousands of dollars on bringing together a group of people that may not be in your life in the latter half
Totally.
of it.
Yeah, and like how unfortunate that the biggest event of your life happens so early. Like it
And
just kind of sucks.
and the event isn't the marriage, the celebration
Mhm.
of your love. It is actually the
The
party,
party. Yeah.
which is crazy to think about. We've lost
Yeah,
the
I
plot.
we've lost the plot. Like I don't know when this like turn happened. The thing is like it's always been like this in Indian culture. When I was at my grandparents in November, December, there was a huge wedding in the neighborhood, and my
There
grandma was
are
talking about it
always
to her
big
friend.
weddings in your neighborhood.
There's always a wedding, and to set the scene, my house shakes when there are weddings in the neighborhood. They're so fucking loud, and it'll go on until like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. And there are so many old people that live in this neighborhood. Like, I feel so bad for them. And when I was complaining to my grandma, she's just like, this is wedding season, and like, it is what it is. Just deal with it. And I'm just like, I can't. I feel like I'm going crazy. This is torture for me. But, anyways, she was talking to her friend about this wedding that was happening in the neighborhood, and she was basically like, they cannot afford this level of wedding, but they are having it, and they are spending so much money on this wedding. For what reason? Like, it's irresponsible almost. It's sad that they feel like they need to have it. Like, my grandma was having this conversation.
I feel like there's also just so much pressure on a single woman in our culture, whether it's Asian culture or even like American culture itself, to
Yeah.
be in a relationship just to have a wedding so you can prove to others that
Mm-hmm.
you can have
You're
it.
successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're like lovable in a way.
And
Yeah.
at
It's
many
because
times, you're forced to invite people that like you don't even care about. Like, depending on
yeah.
how big you want your wedding, sometimes you're grasping at like straws to like bring people to your wedding. And it's
Yeah.
like you're spending your hard-earned money on that.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, at least in Indian culture, they're just like, oh, we went to this person's daughter's wedding 5 years ago, so we have to invite them. And it's like, I've never met them in my life. I am not inviting them. I'm sorry. Like, that's crazy. And what's the point? Like, when you're at your wedding, my friend had a wedding. She had like 450 people at her reception. And she was just like, I don't even remember the wedding because all we did was like, I mean, she remembers it, but like she was like, we spent so much of the time like going around talking to people that we don't even know or care about or have like not even talked to since, and they only got married like 2 years ago.
I've seen a lot of conversations on TikTok about how so many brides regret the bridesmaids that they have picked because like they're not
Mm,
in good standing with a lot of them, like. And I think
yeah.
that there's a lot of stress about. I saw this TikTok where this girl was like, I think about it pretty frequently of like who I would invite as like my bridesmaids in a wedding that I haven't even started planning yet. And there's just like so much conversation about like how much do you actually care about these people that you're inviting? And like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like these things do not matter. But for some reason, through social media or societal pressure, this is the one thing that like
Mm-hmm.
so many people care about.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. And I like it's just getting worse and worse. Like I can't even imagine what it'll be like when we get married. Nor do I want to. Like at this point I'm just like I'm not having a wedding or I'm going to have such a random ass wedding that people cannot go to. That didn't actually even turn the mic off. Like I heard the sneeze. Isn't that
What
wild?
the fuck?
Yeah, I don't know what the on off is. Anyway, keep going.
Do you want to repeat that point though? Because I sneezed. Oh, we could just mute
No,
myself.
I finished.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I finished the point anyway. All right. Let's talk about the guest experience really quickly for these elaborate weddings. Like it has also become such a like financial thing for wedding guests to make it to these like destination weddings that are really extravagant. What are your thoughts on it?
I feel like as society has become more spread out in the US, like 20, 30 years ago, it wasn't like pretty common for people to leave coast to coast, like live
Mm-hmm.
all over the world. Like if someone moved away, you probably wouldn't keep up with them. And
Yeah.
when you're having a wedding, they were usually at churches and you would just invite your community.
Mm-hmm.
But now, because we've become such a global society and a society where so many people have like left and moved around frequently, but with social media, you have the ability to keep up with one another. Everyone's network is just so spread out now, and there's so many discussions about how your network is now spread out across all these remote
Mm-hmm.
locations, and you're no longer actually close with the local community that you live in, which
Yeah.
I think is 100% true. I would say like my closest community, I do have like some close friends here, but they are like spread out all over the world at this point.
Yeah.
And that gets really expensive when you think about having to attend
Mm-hmm.
weddings, because even though one person might be picking a very local place for them, for a lot of their guests, they're like traveling quite a bit to attend. And so there are
Yeah.
flights to consider, hotels to consider, outfits to consider, because so
Yeah.
many of these weddings have like outfit themes now. And all of that cost is passed on to the guest. And so I wonder,
Mm-hmm.
what is the actual margin or ROI of a guest attending these weddings? Like, are you spending more than you're actually receiving at this point?
No, totally. Like at the wedding, I would assume that like the bride and groom spend maybe like 150 on your dinner. And your hotel's more than that. Maybe okay, 150 dinner and maybe like let's be wild. I have no idea, but like $100 on open bar. So 250. But like your flight is definitely more than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so
And it's
there's
like
also,
you'll do that because oh sorry, keep going.
no, I think like there's that dollar value associated with like you want them to attend your wedding in the future, or
Yeah.
you want to remain close friends with them. So you kind of feel obligated to attend this, what is a really kind of costly investment on your end.
Totally. Like and you think, "Oh, I like really love them and I care about them, so I'll do this." But it adds up. And at this point, it's like cheaper to not have friends. I've been to so many weddings this last year and I have a lot to go. And I have been very stressed looking at flight prices recently.
What else did we want to say about this topic?
And you go.
I also think there's an element of feeling pressure to be in a relationship to split the cost of this wedding.
Yeah.
Because attending as a single individual is just like you're fronting the cost of all these expenses by yourself. Whereas if you were a couple, you could split and you could coordinate with your significant other or friend at this point.
Yeah.
But it's just like also a ton of pressure when you're attending these events that are supposed to focus on the union of two people. And so there's like just a lot of talk about wedding in general and a lot of questions about like, oh, are you seeing
when are
anyone?
you getting married?
When are you getting married? And it's a hard subject these days.
It's a lot. Yeah, and it's just like you might not have someone there that you can like quote unquote latch onto. Like that's why it's so nice to have a partner there. And it's anxiety inducing for a lot of people. Be included sometimes. A lot of times. It also just feels awkward sometimes, like when you're there, and not that people are thinking about it, but they could be like, oh, this person is alone.
People
blah,
talk.
blah.
Everyone talks at a wedding. Alcohol and nothing else to do if you don't want to dance. Like, you said it yourself at the beginning. You were gossiping.
That's
away.
What I did.
Yeah.
Exactly. Not that my gossiping was like about any of that, but like I always have this fear that it is about that for me. And I'm sure other people do too. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just a psycho, but it's tough.
It is tough. Okay, so the moral of our episode is we gotta chill about the wedding.
We have to chill. It's so tough. Like, it's just setting up too much expectations for us. For our impending nuptials. And I don't want to do it.
We gotta end it a different way.
Okay.
What should we say?
The moral of the story on this wedding situation is we've lost the plot. Let's rein it back in. Let's have less obligation or like pressure to spend so much money. And it should just be fun. It's also, I feel like, not that fun as the bride and groom sometimes because you're so stressed. And that sucks.
I know. We've completely lost the plot, and I don't know why. I think it's because we need to be more concerned about more frivolous things rather than weddings.
And capitalism has run rampant, and
the wedding industry.
Let's rebel.
I felt like that was bad too.
I know. I don't know how to end it. You try again. Oh, should we just end it with like a fun question? Okay, go.
Yeah, what fun question?
If you were to do a budget-friendly wedding, where would you do it? Or what would you do? Or no? What was your okay? Let's try that one.
I don't know. I was just going to wing it. Okay. I'm just going to wing it.
Okay.
Okay, there you have it. That is our episode on how the wedding industry has gone completely amok. To summarize, we have just completely lost the plot of what a wedding is for in general. And honestly, I would be excited to see less wedding content in 2024.
Yeah. Or like more low cost weddings. A more just true celebration of love.
And if you want to see something like that, you'll just have to wait. I don't know how many years before Abby and I.
And you won't get it from my wedding because my wedding is going to be taken over by my mom. So for Yu Chen's wedding. That was also not that great.
Okay, wait. I have a question. Okay. I'll start over. Man, why is this so hard for us?
Because it's just a weird topic. Not weird, but like harder. Okay, go.
Okay. Well, there you have it. clown weddings 2023. I'm over it. We've completely lost the plot, and now we're here for more budget-friendly weddings of 2024. But I have a question for you. Okay. Who is like the one person outside of your family, your direct family, that you're like, you have to invite for your wedding?
You? What do you mean?
Okay, you know who mine is?
It better be me.
Well, it's your mom, and then it's you.
That's so true. My mom would be personally offended if you did not invite her.
Because if I did not invite her, she would call me up immediately, and I would get an earful. So I don't know.
I thought we were friends. Like, this is so sad for me.
So I don't know when I'm getting married or who I'm getting married to, but I know that Ami's mom will be there.